Actually, in your red book, your red book code names, it's song number 131. You want to follow along here. 131. 131. So there's walls of the up here. We have heard the joyful sound. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Spread the tidings all around. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Bear the news to every land, till the earth in homage kneels. Onward 'tis the Lord's command. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. We're going to do all three verses. Walking on the rolling tide, Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Tell the nations far and wide, Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Sing the islands of the sea, till mankind the glory feels. Earth shall be for jubilee. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Give the winds a mighty voice. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Let the nations now rejoice. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. Shout the tidings full and free. Christ His love to man reveals. This is song of victory. Jesus heals, Jesus heals. You may have a seat. Thank you.
Will the prayer chaplain bring forward the prayer box, please?
Let us just take a moment to breathe deeply and relax. And moving ourselves into that more quiet place within. And from this place of higher vibration, let us lift up the prayers that have been written down and placed in this prayer box. And the prayers that are written on the hearts of all those here this morning and all those who are not with us this morning. Lifting those hearts to Spirit, grateful for their fulfillment to the highest good of all. And for this we say thank you, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Dean. And I would like to share with you at this time that prayer chaplains like Dean and myself are available to you for a one-on-one confidential prayer. Now, Carol, will you please come forward and read the daily word?
I am gratefully and wonderfully blessed. Henry David Thoreau wrote, I am grateful for what I am and have. My thanksgiving is perpetual. An attitude of thankfulness serves me well when I consider the many blessings for which I am grateful. In a quiet moment, I open my mind and heart to experience the magnificence and magnitude of all that God is. I consciously know that I am grateful for a divine presence in my life. Because of this, I give thanks in advance for the many possibilities and opportunities before me. Gratitude is the heart's response to life's infinite blessings. My gratitude expresses its peace, love, and joy. With anticipation and appreciation for future blessings, I affirm I am gratefully and wonderfully blessed. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14.
Thank you very much, Carol. Let us prepare ourselves now, stilling our minds. Stay together.
our sacred Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
And moving just slightly deeper, let us feel the air as it touches our skin. Feel the comfort and security of your seat firmly in the chair and your feet on the ground. That air ever so lightly on the skin. Notice your breath as you breathe in and breathe out. This is like the ebb and the flow of that universal light that is always moving in and out through us and between us. This light is the love that connects us. It is the glue that binds us as one. Spirit, the Word, the primary vibration that began and always has been. This is the substance and stuff that we are. This is radiating through us back to the universe, from the universe and through us, touching each cell in our body with rejuvenating life. It is our wholeness. Let us feel that wholeness as we breathe and move a little quieter and a little deeper to that place inside us. It's always there where we discover the presence of the Christ light within, in that silence. From that silence, let us begin to feel that gratitude That gratitude that is certainly related to love. Not gratitude for a certain thing. Just gratefulness. Appreciation. So thankful. And let us remember that feeling as our brain begins to work with the subject matter of the talk. And allow that understanding that is a part of us to begin to work within ourselves. And our power of discernment, so that we can take from this information that's presented this morning and grab a hold of that what it is that we need right now in our life to put to use practically. In gratitude, we say thank you, and so it is. Amen. So this morning, I want to talk about how Jesus heals. It might be one of those things that just seems so obvious. There are a lot of stories of Jesus performing miracles in the Gospels. And many of those miracles are in relation to healings. And if you love your neighbor, and you see them experiencing something, and you have that power, wouldn't you heal them too? I mean, it just seems so natural for a God that is love to want to heal. I don't think it was a coincidence. The daily word this morning was gratitude. Gratitude is so powerful a feeling. And it's always available to us. In the midst of any trial or any situation, we can always choose our gratitude. It doesn't have to be for anything, and it certainly doesn't have to be for the thing that we're in the middle of at that moment. But we can be grateful in the middle of even the most troublesome situation. And it is our choice. So what I want to do this morning in this talk is look at 3 different episodes where Jesus healed someone. And then look at what is the commonalities between the different case studies. And look at the differences. So what is the same and what is different in each of these episodes? And the first one is Jesus heals a centurion. A centurion is a Roman soldier. And this particular centurion isn't just a soldier. He is a leader of soldiers. And leaders of soldiers are really used to having a soldier do what it is that they tell them to do right in that moment when it is told, without even thought sometimes. So this is the scripture. The centurion approaches Jesus and says, "My servant is sick, but I am not worthy of you coming to my home." And he says, "But only speak the word and let my servant be healed." You don't have to come to my house. All you have to do is say the word, and my servant will be healed. Is that faith? Is that faith? I am also a man set under authority with soldiers under me, and I say to one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my slave, do this, and the slave does it. And then Jesus just gives them this huge accolade. If only the people of Israel had this kind of faith. And so Jesus speaks the word, and by the time he gets back to his house, the servant is healed. And he asks, when did the healing happen? And the other members of the household tell him that it just so happened it was at the exact moment when Jesus directed for the healing. So it was an instantaneous action at a distance. Wow. All right. The next one that I want to look at is there was a man who was born blind in Bethsaida. And Jesus, I'm going to say it because that's what it does. He puts his spit on the man's eyes. And he says, can you see? And the man said, well, kind of, sort of. Everything, these people, they look like trees. So it wasn't a full healing. And so Jesus touches his eyes one more time, and the man is able to see completely and clearly. Oops. That's the scripture for the healing of the blind man. And then the next case study is that Jesus healed the woman who was suffering from bleeding. It says that she had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. There was a crowd of people around Jesus on the street. And this woman touched the hem of his garment. And Jesus says, who touched me? And the disciples looked at him kind of like he was crazy. Because there was a bunch of people all around him, and any one of them could have touched him. But Jesus felt the energy shift when the woman touched the hem of his garment. And she was healed. 12 years she had been suffering from this problem, the symptoms, and she was healed by touching the hem of Jesus' garment. Okay? So what are the things that are the same in all of these cases, in all of these episodes? One thing that's in common is that Jesus is there. Faith was involved in all three cases. And there was an energy shift. Jesus, remember, he felt the energy being drawn as the woman touched the hem of his garment. To me, what was even more important, though, is what were the differences. Because Jesus did something different in each one of these healings. Remember, in the first one, all he had to do was speak a word, and a servant who was perhaps a mile away, some distance away, was immediately healed. And remember, in the second one, he had to put his spit on the eyes and then touch the eyes again. And in the third one, Jesus didn't really do anything. She touched the hem of his garment, and it happened. So what were different? What was different that caused or that needed these different types of healings? Jesus is still the same Jesus in all three cases. There's the same faith going on. But what is different? These are different people. And all people, we all have different expectations. We have different expectations about what it takes to be healed. That's what I wanted. Thank you. I need eyes in the back of my head when I do this. Okay, so what is an expectation? This is straight out of Webster's dictionary. And the most important thing that it says is what we think. And if we'll remember back to what the third, I believe it's the third principle, it's in your bulletin, and that is that our thoughts create. So if I have an expectation, that means I'm holding thought. I'm holding this in my mind that certain things have to take place before I can be healed. If I'm the centurion in this case, then I have an expectation that when Jesus gives the command, that His command is going to be followed through and there will be a healing. So that's all that's necessary here. There is this expectation. Jesus fulfills the expectation and there is a healing. The second man has a different expectation. Jesus knows this, intuits this. He places His hands on the man's eyes. Still isn't enough. The man expects even more. So Jesus touches his eyes again. And now he can clearly see. And in the third example, this woman only expects that all she needs is to touch the hem of this robe and she will be healed. And well, that's what happens. Alright, so in all these cases there was an energetic shift. I just want to throw this up here so we can get this picture of what energy in our body looks like. I'm really not going to spend any time talking about it. I just wanted you to kind of see that. And how do these healings apply to me right now in my current situation? I'm holding an expectation right now. I guarantee you that each of us have a certain expectation about something. And I want to use an example that we're all a little bit familiar with. It wasn't that long ago that Olga had a stroke. She had some expectations about what was going to happen after that. She did not follow the expectation that comes with our collective consciousness on this, or she might be not here this morning with us. She might be where she can't walk. But her expectation was that I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be just fine. I can get over this. And you know what? She did. She had to work at it. I promise. I know that Olga has been working on it. I've seen her handwriting exercises where she is doing this handwriting, and it's beautiful. I wish I could write so well. It inspired me to go home and buy a pad and start working on my handwriting because I want people to be able to read what it is that I'm writing. She had an expectation of wholeness, and so she's doing the things that are going to bring that wholeness. If she didn't have that expectation of wholeness, would she even bother with an exercise in handwriting? Or these physical stretches that she does that take at least an hour each day? No. But there is this expectation of wholeness. And she knew from the very beginning when she woke up that she was going to be okay. Because God's got her back. There's a frog here in this wreath. The frog's there for a reason. There was a talk that I did not too long ago, and I put a frog in the bulletins. Frog, F-R-O-G. Fearlessly rely on God. That is a faith. All right, so how can I put this to use in my life? One of the most clear and most direct paths we have to Spirit is in prayer. This is from Charles Fillmore. He says that prayer is more than supplication. It's not a begging. I don't have to beg to some God that's out there. No. It is an affirmation of truth that eternally exists. Eternally. It always is there. But it has not yet come into consciousness. It comes into consciousness not by supplication, but by affirmation. And it's not something that I only do one time and it's done. E.V. Ingraham says it's daily and habitual practice in every phase of human experience is what realizes the effect. Daily and habitual practice in every phase of human experience. That's my talk on continuous prayer. Does that mean that I just have to sit in a cell and do nothing but pray? I don't believe so. But I do believe that while we're in the middle of whatever it is that we do from day to day, that we can hold that prayer in our mind. That I can look out there at each of you and see Christ. Every one. Without exception. I started reading a new book that was recommended by Wanda Gale. And the author is a guy named James Twyman. And so I wanted to know a little more about who this guy was. And I found out there was a movie out there called The Moses Code that claimed to be a sequel to The Secret. The next step after The Secret. And right at the very beginning of the movie, he makes this statement. It's a new way of looking at the name of God that Moses got at the burning bush. I am that I am. We use that quite a bit in unity, the I am. But when you look at it as I am that I am, it's kind of puzzling. So he had a revelation. And it was just simply a comma. I am that. I am. So how does that work? When I look at you, I say, I am that. Because it's oneness. To say, I am that, is saying that we are one, that we are the same. I am that. I am. And as you go, I started doing this at work. And we got all kinds of personalities at work. And we got all kinds of things that come up that have to be dealt with. And people get angry and they get upset sometimes. And so sometimes I get in this old habit of judging and seeing something negative about someone who's going over the edge into negativity. So I just started playing with this. I am that. Anytime I would see something like that, I go, oh, I am that. I am. And it was almost like a joke inside. I am that. It really changed my whole attitude towards the situation and that person. To say that I am that is equating me, it's saying I own that too. And if I really think about it, well, there's been times when I was exactly that, or close to it. It gets a little harder when we look at the news and we see something that's extreme, but we can still say I am that, because we're one. We are one. We are all united. There's only one. In the whole of everything is all connected. So when I give, I'm giving to myself. We're going to sing that here in just a little bit probably. Or affirm that. All that I give to myself. Okay. So faith, remember, was one of those other things that was in common in all of these. There was a different, you might even say, level of faith. But there was a different manifestation of faith. You know, there was a different demonstration of faith in each one of these case studies based on the expectation. But if you look at those definitions, there's a definition there in Hebrews. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. So I said, well, what is an assurance and what is a conviction? And they're thoughts. How about that? It goes back to what's going on inside my own consciousness. So we have to think about it in our own life. My slides are mixed up tonight. I apologize this morning. So what are we putting faith in? What are our expectations? Because if you have an expectation, you really are putting your faith in that. What are my expectations around myself? Of who I identify myself as? What are my expectations around my wholeness? What are my expectations around prosperity? Relationships? Family? What are my expectations about society? I can think of how mine have changed. When I was a young man and just getting married, we decided not to have children because this world was such a terrible place. That affected my whole life because of an expectation that I had, that we both held together. I don't see the world as being such a terrible place anymore. I think the world is getting better. And as each one of us begins to change our expectations and move into that higher place, the whole vibration of this whole world gets better. But then I was in a position of lack thinking, seeing the world that way. I can remember getting so stressed out and so tense every month when I had to pay the bills. And I got paid every week, so it really wasn't once a month, it was every week when I got paid. So anyway, I let go of that now. And now when I sit down to pay the bills, I say thank you. For every bill that I send out, I'm thankful that I was able to send that bill out. And nothing really has changed except my attitude about them. The choice that I made. And it's my choice on how to see the world as well. I could continue to see only the negative stuff that's on the news. But luckily there's other things that I can look at, and there's the people that are around me. And I already told you the story about this grandpa playing with his little granddaughter with this balloon, and seeing the joy on her face over seeing the balloon, and then in turn seeing the joy on his face watching her playing with the balloon. And I was sitting in my car having lunch, and this was happening across the street, and I was just nearly in tears with gratitude and with just the compassion, just feeling this love passing, this energy. It was just so, I can't describe. I'm getting chill bumps now just remembering it. So powerful. And what a difference that worldview is as opposed to the worldview. I just turn the news off. If I don't like what I'm hearing, and especially if I don't like what it's making me think, I turn it off right then. I don't wait to see if the next story's better. Off it goes. All right, so how do we change our mind? We'll have more talks about this, and we'll talk more about it, and you'll hear more about it. Denials and affirmations. I'm going to deny the power of that news program to affect me. Boom, it's off. And I'm going to affirm that I have that love, that truth, and that beauty that grandpa and that little granddaughter had, and I have it all the time. And I want us to remember what Johnny Coleman taught us in that sermon a couple months ago. Because it works if we work it. Let's say it together. It works if we work it. All we've got to do is put this stuff into practice in our lives, and our vibration begins to increase, and good things begin to happen. So grateful. So grateful for each of you. So grateful for this life that I have, that I woke up this morning, decided to get out of bed. I was able to go downstairs and put coffee in a coffee maker and start it going. All I had to do was plug it in and turn the switch on. The water that I needed came right out of the tap as soon as I turned the tap on. I am so grateful for those things. Those seem like small things, but those are huge things. If you've ever gone camping in a tent with no stove, where you've got to wake up in the morning and build a fire before you can have coffee. That's right. You don't even get your coffee until you make that fire. Then you got to wait on the water to boil. Yeah.
And how about the bathroom?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I can go into this clean area and I can sit down and it goes away as soon as I... Man, it's so much better than having to shovel and cover. So we have a lot to be grateful for. And those are just the little things. We have each other. We can be grateful for that. And I am so grateful for each of you. And I'm grateful for the ones who are on the road this morning, that they're going to have a safe return to us and be here with us, if not next Sunday, then the Sunday after, or Sunday real soon. I am grateful for those who have never stepped through those doors yet. Because I can see some things happening in this church. I see a youth program. There is a youth minister out there who hasn't come yet, but they are coming. And a leader of children's church coming. Just waiting on the right time to step through those doors. And I want you to see that with me. Let's just have gratefulness for that. Thank you so much for this morning. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you, Spirit, for everything in my life. Amen.
We're going to go ahead and sing our next song. It's also in the Red Book. It is number 138. 138, we're going to stand. Please. Stand, please.